Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream. I'm Reynald Adolphe. I will be your host for today. So I want to go ahead and not waste any time and get things started right away. So why don't we go ahead and, since it's Thursday, do our Throwback TikTok Thursday segment.
Let's jump into some of the extensions that I like to use. I actually like to use Copilot quite a lot. It is a lifesaver in some areas. It will guess what you need to do. I'll write a simple comment and I write, create a piece of state for a number. And there you go. It actually goes ahead and creates a piece of state for a number. Live share, absolute game changer for us. Most of the audience will know what a Google Doc is. 3 people at the same time, you can see their name, and as they're typing in, it's highlighting everything in real time. Imagine that same thing now in a code editor, but with extra features. Pitaya is a code formatter, especially when we're new to coding. We might get code that's all out of the place, right? It's indented. But then if you go ahead and apply something like Pitaya, it formats the code every time perfectly the way I want it.
Very nice. In fact, Prettier was just our, if you follow us on TikTok, you know that we have an extension of the week, and that was just the extension of the week about, I believe it was last week, and it blew up. You guys love Prettier. That's like one of the top extensions people keep bragging about. All right, so I want to say a quick hello to Lam and Cosmeme in the chat. Also Code Nerd. Thank you guys for joining like right away to get things started. So without any further ado, I want to introduce our guest. He's going to be talking to us. Well, I'll let him tell us what he's going to be talking to us. But here is Rory Preddy. He's one of our principal content engineers here at Microsoft. Rory, what is the word?
The word right now is Johannesburg, because it's where I'm calling you from. Hi, everyone. My name is Rory. I have brown hair, I'm wearing glasses, and I've got a Microsoft top on. And I'm speaking to you from my home office in Microsoft, and I have achondroplasia dwarfism. That's a voice narration that I'm kind of encouraging people to do so visually impaired people can understand who I am and what I look like, though. And I'm so incredibly happy to be here, Reynald, for this session on accessibility. And I've got some really nerdy stuff to show you and some really nice tips and tricks around how to get started with your accessibility journey on VS Code.
I love nerdy. Nerdy is totally in now. Back in the day, nerdy was not cool, and now it's cool to be nerdy. Well, I was born nerdy, so you know I've been there, and I hope you were also. You're not being nerdy just to like jump on a bandwagon, are you?
There's a good question. So there's 2 questions. So you can ask someone. The first is actually a trick question. The second one is more to ascertain what kind of nerd they are. So the first question is, who is the main character of The Big Bang Theory?
I know him by face. I don't know the name because I never really liked that show, man.
It's Leonard, and then there's Sheldon. Now, Sheldon is the breakout character, but Leonard is the main character because you follow his life. So that's the first question. Now, the second question is Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I'd like to say I'm gonna go. I've always liked Captain Kirk, so I'm gonna go with Star Trek.
It's a good answer, but The Mandalorian right now is really a great show. So that's kind of like the nerd fest going on right now, the nerd sphere, the ecosystem right now. So one of the things also that nerds love to do is we love to tinker and we love toys. And one of the old school toys that I grew up with is HTML. And it's so interesting now that HTML has undergone a second revival with HTML5 and all of these things, but still accessibility is critical to HTML5, which actually is built in accessibility. But I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks on how to make your HTML5 really more accessible with tools that you and I actually use every day. Because as Microsoft employees, we have to, we submit something, we submit some docs, it goes through some checks, some rules engines. And I'm going to show you today what rules engine it actually uses to actually get that feedback.
That sounds great. I actually have not been hearing that much about HTML5 given like the way that JavaScript has like dominated like the industry with the way that it's evolved. So it's going to be good to hear a little bit more about HTML5 again. So yeah, let's go ahead, jump into it.
I didn't have a choice for that. I'm an HTML. I actually grew up in HTML3. So it is. And when that came about there, I had to learn from start to finish Angular and React. Now, the biggest problem now, and I agree with you completely, is how do you test accessibility for precompiled JavaScript, TypeScript programs? And there's a very interesting way to do it. And I'm going to show you Playwright, which is an in-house tool that we use at Microsoft to test for accessibility. So not only can you manually, and I'm going to show you how to manually test it with a lot of the accessibility issues out of VS Code, but I'm also going to show you how to use VS Code with Playwright to actually go in and test those issues.
Okay, so Playwright is going to be the star of this, the star product of this stream, right?
Yes, it's going to be one of them, but Playwright is the coolest. And like I said, nerd first, and then after that, engineer. Nerd, then engineer.
Great. I love being a nerd. By the way, I should mention, like when I was in junior high, there was someone that was like looking at my report card, and they had said I wasn't doing that great. I had like some C's, right? And then he saw that I had a C. He was like, "C? Look at all, you're a nerd." Like that was being a nerd for him. So whenever I hear like nerd, I'm just like, am I really a nerd? I guess to some people. But let's just jump into it. We're not here to talk about my junior high experiences.
Okay, so Reynald, I've shared a screen. I want to show you exactly the start of this journey is learning what the W3C, so the WCAG principles are. Now, we're going to focus on HTML today. But understand, I'm also going to show you a way how to do this with Windows and with Android. So the only reason we're really going with HTML is that we can hit a broader audience. Also, a lot of our tools that I'm going to show you today have really great HTML examples. So this is called the accessibility principles. And in these accessibility principles, it gives an overview of exactly what we're trying to achieve. There's only 4 principles. Okay. Now, the principles you can see here is perceivable. So I've got eyeglasses. I actually have accessible requirements, because if I take these off, you're kind of blurry there. So I have accessibility requirements, and the perceivable information here, let me make that a little bit bigger. Here we are. Perceivable information goes through here, but basically what it's trying to do is it's tell you when you see a web page, if you have text that is too small, if you have text that is the wrong color, that's not perceivable. If you have captions for your video and it doesn't show and it's, the person is visually impaired, you can't do that, that's not perceivable.
Right.
If you're hearing, and VS Code actually has audible cues also, and you don't hear it, right, and you've asked to hear it, that's not perceivable also. So its content is easy to see and hear. Content will be presented in different ways to be perceived, and also there needs to be alternatives for captions, video captionings, and you need to have text alternatives. If you put an image there, you need to make sure that if someone can't see the image, they know what you're actually looking at. And we're going to look at novel ways there on how to test that. Cool. Next is, sorry?
I said cool.
Sorry, your accent is incredibly sweet, and so for in Afrikaans, in South African, we say cool. So it's like a much broader kind of accent. Okay, so the next is operable, navigable. Now look at these hands. These hands aren't really the best hands to do much with. They're like little stumpy hot dogs. And right now, I actually use 3 different sets. I've got my Apple Magic Mouse, I know, working on Windows. Then I've got the Logitech MX Keys Mini. And then I've got a trackpad on the other side here, because what I've realized is that my shoulders really take strain. And also, I can't reach my laptop or my desktop normally, so I keep them very close. I have navigable, because of dwarfism, requirements. So you want to also have navigable, which is number 2. So operable user interface and navigation. So functionality is available from a keyboard, which a lot of us overlook nowadays. Switch off your mouse and go into a website, and see exactly how you navigate. Now, Visual Studio Code, when I show you this, has some novel ways of actually making navigation very easily. Users have enough time to read and use the content that's not called seizures and physical reaction. Now, my wife suffers from epilepsy. So if she has a flashing screen in front of her, that's very unfair of the editor or the author of that, because they haven't tested it, that this actually causes that. Users can easily navigate, find content, and determine where they are. And users can use different input modalities beyond keyboard, a screen reader software. And that's navigable. So we've gone through visual or auditory and then navigable. The next one is something new that they recently added. You know, neurodiversity is it has got a lot of new focus. So neurodiversity includes ADHD, the autism spectrum. And the biggest issue is that these weren't catered for in previous versions of WCAG. Now, WCAG 2.1 actually included the ability to handle understandable information and user interfaces. So text that is readable and understandable, content appears and operates in a predictable way, and users are helped to avoid and correct mistakes.
Quick question. Have you heard, and this is from Acid Haas, he said there's a great extension called WebHint, which is a linter for accessibility. Are you familiar with that?
I'm going to show you one of our partners, actually the same queue. So we are going to use an alternative to WebHint. WebHint is great, but we're going to use Accsssibility. And Accsssibility I like because it actually uses the same library that we use at Microsoft. So I don't want to use a different library or rules engine that goes against it, because else then it might be a little bit stricter or less configurable. So we are going to use the Linter, but we're going to use the Accsssibility.
Got it. All right.
And then finally, and this is a very important rule, you know, like when you have a phone. Now, most people with a disability, they actually use their mobile phone as their principal tool for web editing. But you know, if you take your phone and you turn it from landscape to portrait, a lot of sites and a lot of apps break. Now, responsive design was the first real take and first real hint to people to actually go in and create accessible tools, because responsive design was part of the ARIA spec originally, and Web ARIA is actually part of the HTML5 original kind of parent of that spec. And responsive design falls into robust content and reliable interpretation, which content is compatible with current and future user tools. Now, a lot of people do terrible things with HTML. They make it non-semantic. They put the P tags there, they put the image tags there, they do all of these things. And as a result, it's going to break in future user tools because they're not actually following semantic HTML, which I'm going to show you a little bit later, an example of non-semantic HTML and how to get around that. So these are the four principles. We've got perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And these are also the core principles that VS Code follows to help people both inside VS Code and also code with the tools to be able to create accessible content.
Nice. So now the site that you're looking at, w3.org, is that like the most official in terms of for accessibility principles?
Oh, yes. No.
With the Worldwide Consortium?
Yeah, this is Worldwide Consortium. And also the nifty thing is if you click on something here, it'll actually go in and give you examples. So accessible requirements for text alternatives. So I can click on that, and then it'll give you the WCAG. So text alternatives here. Let's click through here. And now it'll actually give you the description. It's very formal. Now, accessible testing, and I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. This is actually a very serious and formal undertaking. The full assessment, which I'm going to show you with Accsessibility Insights, can take hours to perceive. But I'm going to show you a nifty way to actually test 25% of most of the accessible issues with Accsessibility Insights, and then go forward from that if you want to do more. So you can see here there's a lot of nice content. It's a very well funded and also documented technology. You can see here it goes really deep down the rabbit hole of what you need to do. Even mentions, look at that, Silverlight. we don't talk about that anymore. So this is a great site, how to meet it there, but it also is a bit overwhelming. And one consensus that I've got as I speak around the world with these sessions is that people are overwhelmed. So this is really this session to show them that they don't have to be overwhelmed, and I'm going to show them some very quick tips to get started.
All right. So I'm gonna make this give you some good theme background music also. Folks in the chat, we've had issues before where the background music end up like being really loud. If it's too loud, let me know. I'll just bring it down as much as possible or shut it off. But hopefully, Rory, you deserve background music because you're a star here. So let's do this, okay?
If it's Lil Wayne, I can dig it, hey. I actually grew up with gangster rap growing up. My brother had a bit of an identity crisis.
No, this is called Feeding the Ducks. It's nice, mellow background coding music. So
I'll do the Feeding the Ducks. We eat ducks in South Africa, so that's all good.
All right, folks in the chat, let me know if you could hear it because I have it really low right now, so it's not blasting.
I cannot hear it, and I actually am 50% deaf on my right ear. So let me. No, not yet. While you're doing that, Reynald, I want to show them the accessibility insights on how to get started with the browser. So this is the accessibilityinsights.io. We own this website, and we partnered with the rules engine DQ Labs to actually get started with that. So I'm going to show you a very easy way to get started with the testing extension. So over here, you just click on Get Accessibility Insights. You go to accessibilityinsights.io, and you can add it to Chrome or add it to Microsoft Edge. Now, I'm using Microsoft Edge, so I can click Add to Microsoft Edge. It'll go to the Edge plugins, and then you can see it's already there. In the same menu here, you can see it. You can do it for Windows. The same tool that we're going to show you is going to be for Windows and also for Android. You can go in there, and you can actually go in for resources. There's quite a nice lot of material here. And there's some docs there on how you can actually get started with Accessibility Insights. And we're going to show you, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run FastPass. And FastPass is a very quick, lightweight, two-step process that developers identify common high-impact accessibility issues in less than 5 minutes. We still have an assessment process, but I'm going to show you an easy, quick way. Now, to do that, I'm going to go to the DQ University Demo Mars site here. I'm going to pop it into the chat here. And in the site here, look how detailed this is. Let's actually go into the HTML and see if we can see what they use here. They probably use, I'm guessing, Bootstrap or something here. Let's go into the layout, the styles. We don't want to go styles, computer layout, event listeners, DOM breakouts. I'm used to the Chrome tools here, so I don't actually know where the normal source is there though. But it looks very, very detailed. And let's go properties here. So there's a lot of information. How do you get started with this information? How do I actually even close that? Let's close that there. There we go. Okay. And close you there. And okay, so we'll just leave that open there. Okay. So this is a site here, and you can see this looks fine. So one-way trip. There's I hear the music now. Find the fares and everything. The biggest problem is if I am visually impaired, you can see already. Look at this. Look at that font there, Reynald. Mm-hmm. Does that not look a little bit weird and also a little bit offensive? And also, if I tab through this, let me just tab through here.
Yeah, that red is pretty harsh.
Yeah, it tabs through here, but let's just see here, and then it just stops. Someone's messed with the tab index. So there's two problems I already see here. One is that red is harsh, the color profile is off. Two is, let's just go inspect here. Is there any alt tags here for the images? And I don't see, let's make it a little bit bigger here. And I want to inspect here. And I don't even see, I see a div, and I don't see an alt tag. I didn't see any mouse over here. Let's go back there, page not found. I don't see, if I mouse over there, it doesn't say whatever that is. That's a planet with a number 1. So already I can see visually with my eyeballs that there's a problem with this website. But I want to get all of that. I also want to take that into GitHub and post that. So I've got the extension here, and I click on Accessibility Insights for Web. And you can watch a 3-minute video introduction, but you can also go here. Let me make that a little bit bigger. There we go. I can also run fast pass or assessment. So I first want to show you assessment. Now remember that WCAG setting here? You can actually go through it, and there's the entire assessment for all of the WCAG settings here, for WCAG 2.1 AA compliant. This is more if you want to be compliant for government or legislative requirements, and it has the same fast pass tooling here, but it goes in a lot more detail. For example, multimedia and captions. How do you test captions here? But it will say, okay, cool, you can pass that or you can fail it. And it says, I'm going to go pass. And then once you've done that and you go back to the overview, it says 1% complete. You can actually go in here, the assessment, and you can export that assessment. Let me make it a little bit bigger here. You can go export the results and you can export the assessment. So test, and you can actually export that as HTML. And that'll say, if I open that file there, hey, listen, the one of the things you did is captioning, the rest of them isn't actually working. So how do you get started with that? So let's go back into our site then, and let me show you how to do the fast pass. So you click on that, you click on fast pass, and then it gives you all the errors. And it also gives you a visual helper to go in there and say, okay, cool. There's the issues here. What is that? Is that the contrast? Image alt, the alternative text or role of as none or presentation. You can inspect the HTML, you copy the failure data, or you can file the issues. You can actually go to setting and go straight to GitHub, and it will file the issues straight into that. There's some other issues here.
Hold on for one quick second. Someone mentioned, and I think he misunderstood, but Toby Libby mentioned alt attributes, not tags. There is no alt tag, it's an attribute. But I think what you were showing was just the necessary to tab from image to image, right? And they did not have that.
No, so alt tag, or not tag. So this is an alt tag here. So if you see here, let's go back there. It's actually picking up that there's a problem here. So let's click on fast pass. So alt tags is alternative names. So let's go back here. So if we click through here, you can see that if we click through here, that I can't actually click it there, but there's no alt tag. So over here, you can see there, failure rules image alt. And alt tag says you need to have a description for that image. That image there, that's the Mars community there, and it doesn't have one. And you need to go in and create one. And I'm going to show you with the tooling and how to do that. At the same time, we can click on here, and we can go into the ad hoc tools. Check this out. And you can click on tab stops. Now, if I click on tab stops, remember I said to you it navigates and it stops? Now I can actually go there. And I want to show you, I want to click on tab stops here. It is on tab stops. And now I want to click through there. Look at that. Let's see where it stops. Now we can actually go in and see, wait a second, where did it stop? We're going to go through there.
That is cool.
There, and oh God, what are you doing there? Something is happening dodgy there. What?
Okay.
That's not working. So why would someone tag? So right at the top there, those tags.
Hey, hold on for a second. Hold on. Like these are the you're tabbing, and those numbers are representing the first tab position, the second tab, third, and so forth, right?
But you remember, if you put in HTML tab index, if you don't know what you're doing, and if you go in and you change the tab index and you don't keep it up to date, there's a big smorgasbord of problems that you're going to see. You saw there when I got kind of stuck in the top there because they didn't actually go in and keep the tabs maintained. And that's one of the issues also that you can actually go through when you run FastPass. It'll actually go through there and test that. Color. 1 out of 20 men are actually colorblind. So let's go hit refresh here.
So what you just showed us is the result of like not organizing your tab positions correctly in your code, right?
No, and I'm going to show you the HTML exactly how to do it also. So this is more just kind of like a show and tell of some of the issues before we get into that glorious IDE called VS Code. So it also, you can switch on headings, you can switch off color, you can switch on color here. Look at that. Code, because the screen readers will actually go through there.
Could you repeat yourself? Because your audio went out. I don't know if it's just me, but you cut out for like 5 seconds. Can you repeat?
Okay, so there we go. Okay. So So I'm going to switch on headings, and you can see their headings allows you to use this. And we're going to switch on screen reader support in VS Code. And the screen reader support needs to see those headings. But some of the headings you can see here, they just don't exist. They're just headings randomly here. So they haven't done their headings either. And then accessible names. The accessible names are more if you want to do, you can see there a little bit of description. This is a new feature also. So there's quite a lot of ad hoc tools that you can use. There's landmarks, there's color, there's tab stops, there's accessible names. But the easiest way to really check is just run FastPass. You'll get a few seconds. It'll tell you what to do, and you can actually go start in it. And a lot of people say where to start. Just start, take your website, and go and run with it. But I'm going to teach you how to do it from the start without having to worry about this. So that's the first thing that I wanted to demo. And this is the DQ University. I think we put it up there, demo Mars. Now I'm going to go into VS Code, and I've got a nice little demo repository. If we can put up the demo repository, I just created it last night early, and it's Rory P under GitHub called Livestream. I called it Livestream because I thought it's got a ChatGPT wouldn't tell me another name for it, so I just got that though. So in this repo, we've got a few files. Let me make it a little bit bigger. And oh, that's not the bigger. I'm actually making the StreamYard bigger. So there we go. Make it really bigger. But first, before I want to do that, and I've given you a demonstration of what accessibility. What happens if I'm coding and I'm a person with accessible requirements? So if I take my glasses off, I need bigger text. I also need to be able to tab maybe, and I also need color contrast. I might be colorblind. So how do we actually do that? Now, there's an easy, quick way to do all of that. So if you go into the command palette, you can go view command palette, and this is the one stop here. You can just go show accessibility. No, that's not how you spell it. Accessibility help. And that'll give you a little status window in VS Code.
Nice.
And it's built in. And in it will give you the status of what is switched on. And it will also tell you how to find help, which is a great way to actually say, oh, I don't know anything about accessibility. I need a code because I have accessible requirements. But where do I start? You can see here, thank you for trying out VS Code's accessibility options. Mm-hmm. And the first thing it says to you, the status. The editor is configured to never be optimized for reader for a screen reader. Because I'm not visually impaired, I have sight issues, but I might want to switch on a screen reader software. To configure the editor to be permanently optimized for usage for screen reader, press Control E. Now watch when I hit Control E here. I hit Control E, and at the bottom, let's go Control E here. I want to do there and Control E. Oh, I actually got out of there. Let's go back in there, Command Palette, show accessibility help, and we want to go here. And we want to go, you can change the toggle, sorry. It's not Control E, it just swapped it out there for a second. Let me go in there and show you how to do that. So toggle screen reader accessibility mode.
What are you trying to show us?
So I'm going to switch on the screen reader software. So okay. If you go into selection, view, command palette, and I want to go toggle screen reader accessibility mode. So I'm going to click on that. Now, over here, it should have actually switched on accessibility mode. I think it's a little bit too small. That's my problem right now. And I think I switched it off actually. So let's go back here, command palette, and we want to go toggle screen reader's accessibility mode. Okay, it's not switching on, it's not behaving. It may have picked up something, so it's not actually switching on though. But
someone said Control M. Does that do something?
Control N, no, that's Control New though. But I'm not worried about that because we're not going to test screen readers just yet though. So you can actually go view command palette back here. Let's go show accessibility help. It does say
they said Control M. M as in Mary. Did you try M
toggle
as in
screen
Mary?
reader accessibility. Yeah, pressing U. Not too sure why. Edit accessibility support. So let's go there. Let me show you something else here. So let's go File. And we're going to go preferences. Let's go into file, and we want to go down here, and we want to go preferences and settings. So we want to go screen reader and accessibility support. Oh, there we go. Now it's running. You saw that when it was not running, but for some reason now it says screen reader optimized. So it was running there, and I think I switched it on, off, and everything. So now it's screen reader optimized, and it's on here. So controls of the UI should be run in a mode where it's optimized for screen readers. And what that will do, it will actually go in and start prompting you for audio cues. Let me just switch that off. So that'll prompt you as you're going through that. You can switch the audio cues. So it'll actually give you audio cues, and it will repeat to you in a very verbose way about what you're doing at any given time. Okay. So we're not going to test that too rigorously. I have done that once. I did a demo there, and it kind of overwhelms your audience. So we want to show the other ones. So tab spaces. How many times have you actually tabbed across Visual Studio Code, but you get caught tabbing into your file? This is a big issue. So if I tab here, and if I go Shift tab here, right, and I tab out here. So let's go File, and I tab there. Let's go tab here. I tab into that. You can see that it's actually tabbing into the file. It's not actually tabbing, Shift tabbing into the actual the menu structure. So we want to show you how to do that. So let's go View Command Palette, and you can see there Show Accessibility Help. And now you can go pressing Tab in the current editor will insert the tab character. Toggle this behavior by pressing Control M. So you can go Control M, and that will actually go in and tab. I think I've just activated, and that will actually allow you to tab out. So you can actually go in and you can go Alt, and you can hit Menu here, and then you can tab across there and tab there instead of actually into the menu structure. Next, I want to show you one more, and then we're going to go into some code. Let's show accessibility help. Control H and open a new browser window with more VS Code information on accessibility. So we hit Control H here, and that opens up the accessibility. And check this out. We have an entire website here on accessibility, and it'll go through each of the features here that you can actually do. My favorite, it goes straight into Zoom, which I already showed you. Your audience might be, visually impaired or have requirements here. So now we have an entire section, and it goes straight into accessibility. It goes into Zoom, high contrast theme, so color profile. Now, for me, my contrast of choice is black, but that might be not suitable for people with colorblindness. Now, we have a very nice colorblind theme also that we can actually use, and that is, let me get it for you for a second here. Let's go into that. And so I'm going to put the color themes here. So if you are colorblind, I'll put it in the chat here. That is a really great theme for colorblindness. So let's go into here, and let's go into that theme. And there's the, I want to go HTTPS. Sorry, I did the cut and paste without actually looking there. So if there we go. Pitaya Smoothie, a dark theme editor with handpicked colors and heavily inspired by ultraviolet color to run aesthetics, a theme with contrast and accessibility for colorblindness in mind. So let's install this and check exactly what is going on. Visual Studio Code is required to install this. For some reason, it's not. There we go. Open there. Let's install that. Let's run with that from today, because colorblind is actually a really considerable accessibility requirement. So now we've got Pitaya Smoothie, and we can also do dark here. And you can see there that actually won't use red on green, red on black around that for that. So, and the color profile here is much more visible. It's like it kind of speaks to you, screams at you actually, instead of that though. So that's something also I wanted to show you. Let's go back to that site here, and let's go into where we
feel like that would be the theme for Prince if he was a software developer. Prince loves purple.
Oh, Prince, I miss Prince, Purple Rain. I really do. Okay, so Zoom, we've already looked at Zoom, how you can do that. You can even do mouse zoom. There is a way to hack it. You can also do color. We just showed you how to do that theme. And then there's navigation, tab navigation, which we touched on briefly here. Screen readers, which we touched on. And then if you want to do terminal accessibility, which we aren't going to cover today, but you can also do terminal accessibility. So you can actually go in there and change it so your tabs and everything is more accessible. So that's everything I wanted to show you to get started with accessibility. The next I'm going to show you is how to develop and program for accessibility. Now that I'm comfortable in my purple little theme here, I've got in my project, I've got two files. I've got good and bad. So in good, if I go through here, this is all supposedly accessible code. But I've installed a extension, so under extension called the Linter. So if you remember what we said earlier, Linter, you go into the Linter, and what the Linter would do, as you're coding and you can see it's already installed here, it's by DQ Labs, and this is the same rules engine that we did with Accsessibility Insights. So if you run it online, you'll get the same feel and the same rules as you did with the Accsessibility Insights. So install it there, and then you get all this linting. You can see immediately it's picking up an issue. And it says there, listen, don't touch tab index unless you know what you're doing. And we saw there before in that other example that they didn't know what they were doing. It got all kind of confused at the top there. But we know what we're doing here because this is the good file, not the bad file. And it's not picking up any other issues here. It's not underlying it here. And it's in the gutter, wherever my gutter is. And appearance. I want problems. Editor layout. Where's my problems at? Oh, there we go. Problems. And now it's picking up Linter, and it's picking up two files that it's gone there. So you can actually go in there and it'll click through and you can see exactly what the issues are. But the good thing is I can go into my good file and I can right click on that or left click and I can open it. But I can also go in and preview that file there. I get the file there and I can open up in my browser if I want to do. Open in browser and let's bring it here. And then we can actually test our file. So this is a nice way to rinse and repeat. And then I can test it with Accsessibility Insights. So I can go fast pass. And it's saying, yeah, well, what it did pick up, what it didn't pick up is color contrast. Because this is actually an example here. This text has low contrast. It's a purposeful way to say this file has one or two issues. Now, the interesting thing, this file was generated by ChatGPT for me. I said, ChatGPT, go give me a good example of accessibility issues, and it went and created it for me. So it actually put a color contrast there just to remind me this is what you need to do. So you can see color contrast there and the details around that. That's very hard to actually see. So this is the good file. And you can see in this good file, we've got landmarks, you've got headings, the subheadings, forms, color contrast, images. Now, if I look at the image here and I right click and I go inspect, the image here that we're seeing here has an alt tag. It has, let me make that a little bit bigger there, has a, well, you can't actually see that, but it has an alt tag. I'll show you the actual code that we've got here, because what we're doing here and what ChatGPT created for us is a good example of everything that is supposed to be right. So let's go through the HTML here. So when we see the HTML here, we let's start here. We've got a lang setting here. We've got body with a template. And remember, you've got all of this code yourself you can play with. We've got a label. And this is of form field, input field here. You always need labels for form fields. That's a WCAG compliance requirement. And you've got landmarks, which is nav, and a list, which is great. Testing headers. Testing forms, we've also got a form here with inputs. Let me go a little bit slower there. And then also color contrast, which you can see that's the wrong color contrast. The images here, check that out. We have an alt tag placeholder. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we were looking for before, because we didn't add one in that DQ University, but here we have one. So it didn't pick up that it no alt tag. And you can smell what I'm selling in the next one. We're going to remove that and it should actually pick it up. Links. So that's a nice hyperlink, and then lists. And that's the correct way to actually render semantically clean HTML. What semantically clean HTML is that we're not using p tags for list. You can actually do just p, div, 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 div. You can make a list that looks like a list, but it's not really a list. So let's go into the bad HTML, and see exactly what that boy looks like. So the bad HTML, immediately when I get into the bad HTML here, let's close all of that. You can see the linter is going a little bit berserk. It's still linting it there. It's saying got 7 issues here. and it's saying, okay, cool. Let's see what we have here. And we've got the href missing form labels here, non-descriptive link text. The href doesn't tell you what it's linking through or how it's linking. The image source also here, there's empty alt text there. Let's actually take that out.
But hold on. So like you're mentioning these errors, are those popping up on your screen? Because
yeah. So if I go to the problem here, so if I go to view and I go problems, those are all in your gutter.
Okay. Because you were mentioning them, but I wasn't seeing the errors. I just saw some squiggly lines, but I didn't see them popping
sorry
up.
for that. It actually tells you where it is. So over here, let's see the bad one. And the first one is the image source. And you can click on there and it'll tell you exactly where it is. And you can actually right click here, copy the message, and it'll tell you where and what the issue is there. And this is the Accsssibility, the same rules engine. And I'm going to tell you how to use CI/CD with DevOps after this with the same rules engine in a few lines of code. And then you can go through all of this. But let me start. Let me just make it a little bit bigger here. Look what they're doing with this form. They're going form, type equals to text, name equals to username. They have no labels here. So as a result, when a screen reader or an assistive technology uses this, they don't actually know where they are. Next, let's look at low contrast text. So we saw this again, ChatGPT created. Table without headers. How do you actually go and tab through a table without headers? So it's got a TR tag there, no TH tag. Also, big no-no in WCAG. Using color alone to convey information. Look at this, a P tag with red. This text is required. You can't do that because if you use color to convey information, remember I said to you I might be colorblind. I'm never going to see that text. Missing alternative text on an image with a link. Here's an href and here's a image source here. There's no link here. Now that person in a wheelchair, if I render that, it's going to actually, so let's go into here. And I want to go.
Okay, the squiggly lines is because Linter is saying that there's a problem, is indicating that there's a problem, right? Correct?
That's the Linter, yes.
Okay, and so if you scroll up on line 39 for where we're using the color, there's no squiggly line though. So you just know that that's just bad practice because you know it, right? But Linter's not picking that up?
So you can still use red text. So if you go here, it needs to render it. So if you go here and let's see if it actually, that's a really good example. So show preview, let's open it up in browser and let's see that red text here. So let's go find that red text here. Let's go red, there we go. Text is required. Let's see what happens here because I'm very curious around that. Let's add run fast and it picks it up. So the Linter doesn't do it because the Linter gives you a little bit more leeway to do that. But the Accsssibility Insights is a little bit more hardened for that.
So it pointed out that this is bad practice. Okay.
Color contrast. And you can go in there and it will tell you exactly what that issue is though. But at the same time, understand the best way to do this compliant is actually go in there and to run, let's just go here, to run this with the full assessment. So if you really want to make absolutely sure, you can go through the assessment. It will go through some of the automatic checks, and you can go through everything there and learn about accessibility, which is great, around learning about the challenges. Remember that image? This is what DALL-E created for me, but there's no alt tag. So if it's a little bit big here. So if I mouse over here, there's no alt tag. The unclear form instructions, non-semantic HTML, and then finally, semantic HTML elements. Text should be in a paragraph element using JavaScript to change focus without notification. Now, if you do that and you click focus text box, it changes the focus. The problem is that you don't want people to be able to do that. Because if you have a screen reader or an assistive device, it will actually go and throw you out. We can also go in and click on tab stops. Let's go in there. And let's go ad hoc tools. Where do you think we're going to end? Let's click on tab stops and let's tab through that. Started at 1. Look at that. Started at 1. Remember that we were doing that? And then it went up to 2, 3. Okay, so the tab is a little bit better. So that is pretty nice. That at least ChatGPT didn't actually set us down that path with tab stops. But if you are going to change tab stops, let's just say if I did, let's go into the tab stops here. Let's go in and mess with those tab stops. So Control F and tab. Let's go down. Oh, it doesn't have tab in any of them. Okay, so that's why it worked so great, because it didn't actually have a tab index in any of them. But if you do tab index and you go like -1, or you choose the wrong number, you are going to throw people off though. So right at the bottom, I wanted to show you the semantic HTML, and that's using a div tag for text, which is a problem because people don't actually know what you're trying to achieve. Is it a P? Is it a form? What are they actually trying to do here? And then obviously the JavaScript to change focus without notification. So these are a lot of common issues. I've showed you the good. I've showed you the bad. I've also showed you the Linter and also how to actually combine it. But the biggest question I get with people is that they say that accessibility issues creep in as bugs, and I refer to them as the Hydra. So the Hydra is a mythical creature. If you chop off one head, then another one forms. And accessibility bugs are only as good as the CI and CD process that you create to identify these bugs. And what we've noticed at Microsoft, we run with Azure DevOps, and we constantly, if we have any content on Microsoft Docs or Learn, we check for those bugs and make sure that nothing is published. So I'm going to show you today on how to do that with a quick, easy way with a little bit of JavaScript code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import the X Playwright engine. This is the exact same core engine that we ran with the Linter, a little bit more hardened than the Linter, and also the Accsessibility Insights. So that's the X core here. And remember, all of this is in the repository. Then we're going to open up Playwright, and it's going to open up Chromium. And Chromium then is going to start up a browser window, and it's going to test a website. And what website are we going to test? Remember that Washington, the DQ University site that we had there, that we tested in the beginning? We're going to run this automatic with Chrome-based testing. So you can actually run this in your GitHub Actions, your Azure DevOps, your GitLab, all of this. We're going to run that in Chromium. We're going to go, okay, open the browser, open up that page there, and then we're going to get all the results. And then we're going to console log the results, and we're going to debug on that.
Okay.
So we're going to run this inside Visual Studio Code, and we're going to debug it so you can actually see how you can run this with that. So I'm going to close that there. This is a very simple JavaScript file. So all I need to do for that is I'm going to go View, Terminal, New Terminal here. You can see there's no NPM packages here at all. I've got the NPM packages. I did install them, that NPM package. You can just go NPM install that package. And then I'm going to go Node. Not NPM, eh? Look how old school I am. I'm going to go Node, and then I'm going to go test.js. But I'm going to use this through a debug process, which I've already set up here. So that's how you run it. You just go node test.js, and then I'm going to debug it here, node test.js. I'm just going to run through that there, and it's going to hit DQ University, and you can run this in your CI/CD, getting all of the results back. It's going to run through that. It's starting in the background, a Chromium test here, and then it's come back. And it's saying, whoa, you have a lot of errors here. Tab index is not correct. Serious issue there. We've got select names doesn't have an accessible name. Ensure and wow, regions are not correct. A lot of issues. So the biggest problem is you can actually create a report from this. You can actually go in there and say, X, go create a report. But I want to show you what this looks like if I do a debug. And I want to go run in debug. I want to go test in JS here. And then we go run in debug. And it should actually go in and break on that debug there. Let's wait for it. Remember, this is running Chromium in the background, and it's running against my test here. So let's see if it actually goes and breaks it against it here. There we go.
In the meanwhile, I want to address the chat. There's a comment by Nitin Kumar. He says, "Hi Rory, can Linter find the focus issue which comes under WACG section 2.4 15.7? If yes, could you please show me some examples through code?
Wow, that's a nice question to do live.
I know it's like a lawyer question right there with the
yeah, I'm not sure, but
2.4.7.
we can look at it a little bit later because I want to show you what we have here. But
Sure.
the focus issues are very difficult because focus issues actually require you to have context of what you're trying to do. Now, Playwright can actually do that. I wouldn't say that Linter knows how to do that because remember, focus, you've got to focus on something and you shouldn't remove focus of that. So Playwright, you can actually say, go click on that, then move over there, and then that field should have focus. So I'd rather say that Playwright is the tool that you should use for focus checking. Now, Microsoft recommends, and X recommends using Playwright to actually go and do your end-to-end accessibility testing. If you go into Accs's site and Microsoft site for Playwright, they'll say this is how you actually do that. So this is important to understand. Not everything can be tested with the Linter. Not everything can be tested with Accsessibility Insights. You do need your end-to-end tests here. So now we've run it. We've got our results here. And now you can actually see here, we've got all of the actual settings here. There's a lot. It actually came up with 13 different issues that we have here, 13 unique issues that we can go back into, let's see how many issues we can actually see here. So let's refresh here. And let's go into Accsessibility Insights and run FastPass. So how many issues? 20 issues. So we encountered even more issues here than we did with the Playwright issue. So it's important to understand what those issues are. It's a little bit more strict here. We've got duplicate ID, ARIA here. And you can actually tone down Playwright to say that which issues you don't want to see or which issues you do, though. Because by default, Playwright uses WCAG 2.1a compliance, whereas this is 2.1 AA compliance. So let's go back into Visual Studio Code here, and you can see here that I can just stop the Playwright here, and then I can carry it on with you here. So this is located on Rory P, github.com, Rory P /livestream. You can access this JavaScript code with the instructions on how to do it, and also the good and bad files that we have here. So that's everything that I wanted to show you today. And we've had some really nice, engaging questions. I do want to change this purple back here because I do feel this isn't really me. Purple's not really my color. I'm more of a blue kind of guy. So I want to change my theme back. But this is a wonderful theme for colorblindness.
Change it so you feel at home.
So let's go into selection, view, command palette. Let's go themes.
Sandra says, well done, Rory.
Oh, that's bright. My eyes are on fire here. Yeah, so you can see how that might actually be cause issues with people who have neurodiversity because the brightness might actually just overwhelm them. I know that if I showed this to my wife who has epilepsy, it would be dangerous. So I would never show it to her. I would use a dark color for that, though. So this is definitely something that you can go started. But if you want to know, and this is what I get constantly around that, where to start, install the Accsessibility Insights.io and go in there and just run it against your site. Run it against your Windows app or your Android app and just see where you are. And then go on a journey. There isn't no perfect accessibility end result. There's just a journey. If you can fix the 25% of the WCAG AA compliancy, you've done more than most. And then you can actually go in and make sure that these issues don't come back by going in and creating a CI/CD flow by scanning your websites and making sure the hard drive is killed.
Excellent. HSGG asks, is this commonly used? I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to. I'm assuming that it's the extensions that you just demonstrate to us. How popular are these? Are they fairly new? Have they been around?
DQ Labs is the #1 rules engine. It's used by, I would say, most linters. So if you go into that other linter there, you'll find that they use that at DQ Labs. And also across Microsoft, if you go to Microsoft Docs and Learn, and you do find an issue there, then please report it with Accsessibility Insights, and we'll go and fix it. So definitely from our side, from Microsoft's side, we partner with some of the greatest minds in that sense. So we use the best of the best, and we also help promote that by making Accessibility Insights free.
Excellent. So I think this is a good breaking point for us to move to our next segment, which is going to be the lightning round. You actually did a little bit of lightning round with me earlier on, so now it's my turn. Are you ready, Rory?
I am.
Excellent. You have 3 seconds to answer each question. Your biggest pet peeve?
Dirty mouse.
Dirty glass.
It is. It gets dirty, the stupid glass thing.
Oh, I thought you said dirty mask. M-A-S-K.
Mice.
I'm like, oh, where did that come from?
Mice.
All right, dirty mice. All right. Scariest thing you've ever done for fun?
My son likes spiders, and he seems to find it very, very funny to have a huge spider, and he put it on his face, one of those rain spiders, wolf spiders, on his face, and then he ran through the house screaming, saying, ha, ha, ha. That, to him, was fun, and I love my children, so that's fun for me.
No. So wait, how is that scary for you? Like I said, the scariest thing you've ever done for fun. It sounds like the scariest thing they've ever done.
I entertain him. Instead of just swatting him into the head with that spider, I let him run through the house. It was the size of a dinner plate on his face.
Okay. GIF, is it GIF or is it GIF?
Is it giraffe or is it giraffe? So whatever the giraffe is, giraffe. So it's GIF.
Okay, that's a good perspective. 2 more. What one VS Code extension can you not live without?
Well, I have to say Linter, because it is very quick, it's very insightful, and then it immediately tells me if I'm doing the wrong thing.
Okay, last one. First guest if you had your own talk show.
Elon Musk, to ask him why ChatGPT created that text contrast there as wrong, because I actually said to him, give me everything right, and then right at the end, it actually did that, though. So thanks, Elon, for ChatGPT. For all the examples that we did today, were all created with ChatGPT, including that script that I said there. It's all created there. But I would love to have him there and ask him the hard question, why did it do that?
Nice. By the way, I had signed up, inspired by you, for ChatGPT 4, and then I canceled like right away, because one of the questions that I gave it, one of the prompts, was to write a poem, and they do good jobs putting out poetry, but I asked, write a poem that does not rhyme, and it couldn't do it. I'm like, you know what? You don't deserve my $20 if you can't do a poem that doesn't rhyme. When you could do that, then I'll pay you $20 a month. That's just me, though.
Well, I can do one better. A poem that doesn't rhyme is a haiku. So ask it to go in and write a Japanese haiku, and you'll see. I
bet it could do that.
It does, and I've done a lot of nice haikus.
Nah, yeah, I wanted to write like a big poem that doesn't rhyme, you know.
But by nature, a poem is something that does rhyme. So a non-rhyming poem really isn't a poem.
No. You've offended a bunch of poets out there. All right, you better hope you don't have to send out an apology. All right.
I'll ask ChatGPT to write me one.
All right, so this is awesome. If people want to get in touch with you, Rory, how can they reach out to you?
I just got my blue check, twitter.com/Rory Preddy. My DMs are open. Easiest way to actually get in there. And you'll see there, that's me. Or you don't see the screen there. Twitter.com/Rory Preddy. And I've just got my blue check here. So I did sign up with the Elon Musk check, the Elon Musk blue there. So you can actually do that. My DMs are open. Follow me, please. My children need to eat. So we also, I am part of a team of nearly 100 people, developer advocates, who actually do this across the world and also spread accessibility. So really go in and meet those advocates in your area there, and then follow me on Twitter.
Great. It's been awesome having you. Thank you so much for the demonstration, and everyone.
Should we test whether this is check this, what we're going to do. We can actually check the Twitter page here. Check this out. We're going to go fast pass in here. Do you think it'll pass? Oh, no, Elon. It actually didn't. It said there that it's not passing, and we can actually go in there and we can go and tell Twitter that they need to up their game.
Yes, definitely do that. Otherwise, you're going to have to like unfollow Elon. So thanks everybody for joining. Please check out our TikTok while that's around. And you could follow us there in addition to our channel here. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you're updated on future videos in addition to future live streams. I will see you in the next one. Enjoy
Thanks,
your
everyone.
day.
Thanks, Reynald. Cheers, everyone.